These are 7 unforgivable sins of a narcissist. Narcissism, a personality disorder characterized by grandiosity, a lack of empathy, and a need for admiration, can have devastating effects on the individuals who are in relationships with narcissists. Narcissists can inflict severe emotional trauma on their victims, leaving them feeling confused, hurt, and struggling to move on with their lives. The emotional toll of being in a relationship with a narcissist is not to be underestimated, and it can take years for a victim to heal and overcome their trauma. One of the most significant issues with relationships involving narcissists is the fact that they are deeply unjust. Narcissists often avoid taking responsibility for their actions, instead shifting the blame onto their victims. They may manipulate and gaslight their victims, making them question their own reality and memories of what has occurred. This can leave victims feeling confused and unsure of what has happened, further exacerbating their emotional distress. When a narcissist is done with their victim, they move on quickly and without a second thought. They may discard their victim and treat them like garbage, as if the relationship never existed. This can leave victims feeling confused and hurt, as they struggle to understand what went wrong. Narcissists often have a deep sense of disregard for others, seeing them as nothing more than objects to be used for their own gain. This lack of empathy and consideration for others is repulsive and difficult to understand. In this segment, we'll discuss the 7 cardinal sins committed by narcissists and the means by which they avoid responsibility for their destructive actions. Click this subscribe button if you want to receive updates and read the rest. This will aid in raising consciousness and keeping the dialogue going. Number 1. Narcissists are the worst emotional vampire. The narcissist thrives on your humanity, integrity, and the capacities you possess as a human being with a functional conscience. They do it for the thrill of exerting their will over others. They take great pleasure in their power over you and in their ability to use it to frighten, manipulate, and abuse you. However, at what cost? When your very being is sacrificed to make it happen. Exactly what are you giving up? You become mentally unstable, unable to distinguish between fantasy and reality, and unable to take in or retain information. Your outlook shifts, and your state of mind shifts. You lose track of who you are, and they don't care. They are unconcerned with the harm they are wreaking. They care solely about getting the energy and resources they demand. Second greatest sin, extreme gaslighting. They distorted your story, your feelings, and your perception of them. Why did they do this? Since they were bent on dictating the story you told, of course. They could extract what they want from you, force you to do things, and convince you to accept things you wouldn't have otherwise if they could just control your story. They put their psychic arms around you and squeezed until you gave in to their reality. When you interacted with them, your perception of yourself, them, reality, and the world as a whole was distorted, reformed, molded, and altered. What was the narcissist's diabolical objective until they had you where they could use you? In order to obtain support from you, thereby permitting them to assume responsibility for actions you did not take, faults you did not possess, and blame for your actions. It's unacceptable to let someone else control your life to the point that you treat yourself like garbage, lose your sense of self-worth, and forget who you are and what you stand for. Third deadly sin, willful ignorance. When it comes to their own wants and needs, narcissists are always spot on. They realize all they need to do is be considerate, respectful, introspective, and accountable. However, they are not really aware of it. They are prepared to act on their own accord. Recall the pleasant times when the narcissist was worried that you might leave the relationship or that they might lose power over you. They made some adjustments to their personality and developed a more pleasant persona. I don't understand why people would act in such a way, since they were aware that this was precisely what you required to keep the relationship together. However, they knowingly made you plead for the basic minimum required to keep the connection alive: respect, understanding, compassion, presence, intentionality, love, and care. It's important to remember the many wonderful things that contribute to the development of a relationship. They deliberately denied you access to everything you mentioned. 4. They engaged in a smear campaign when they were unable to exert direct control over you. Even after realizing that their smear efforts were based on fabrications, they persisted with them. They made up all these falsehoods to bring you down. From where did this idea originate? It was born of their unadulterated, primal, animalistic hatred. Knowing that I need to respect this individual rather than appease their rage is a difficult realization. Relationship problems are inevitable. Nonetheless, I must now let the past remain in the past. I have to give them space to heal. But they did not do that. In fact, they continued on. They tried to exert direct control over you, but you resisted. Thus, they picked the people they could use to damage your reputation through a smear campaign. They shattered your reputation and altered how others perceived you, wreaking havoc on your professional reputation and personal relationships. They weren't concerned with the suffering they were causing you. In fact, they welcomed the opportunity to do so. They realized that if they ran a smear campaign, they could win over the masses and push you into exclusion, boosting their own self-esteem. It's unacceptable because it would help them come back at you and exact revenge out of envy, vindictiveness, and a punishing temperament. Sin no. 5. Having affairs with other people while also having an ongoing affair with you and trying to keep it a secret. When you catch them cheating, they try to cover it up. Who does that? When you try to hold them accountable, they call you crazy, turn it around and put it all on yourself, a person devoid of emotion. Because, in my view, this is the behavior of an evil person, not a disordered one, i.e. not prepared or willing to consider the disordered element of their personality at this time. This is a very bad thing. Evil is doing something you know you shouldn't, knowing that the other person is your partner and that their discovery of the truth would hurt them. And when they finally find you, you spin the blame back on them. I don't know what you are if you're not evil. And if that's not evil, I don't know what is. Narcissism, the power to shatter a person's ability to trust, makes this transgression unforgivable. They betray you in the worst way imaginable, by lying to you constantly and ruining your time together. They chronically and systematically lie, so you can never be sure of the truth. When you get out of the situation and face reality, you'll see that it was all an illusion. Therefore, as you recognize and awaken to the fact of it being a deception, the entirety of the relationship and the circumstance is exposed to you as a falsehood. And when they do, they are so taken aback and surprised that it takes them a long time to trust again. Unfortunately, there are many who never trust again after experiencing betrayal. They have suffered a trust injury that will never fully heal. Abusive physical treatment of others is the sixth sin. Not all narcissists are physically violent, but those who can make their victims feel so unsafe that they can no longer imagine being around anyone else. It might take decades, if not years, for a victim to feel safe again due to the constant fear that the perpetrator will reappear and cause them harm. They are uncomfortable being themselves. Because they have been traumatized by the narcissist's psychological and physical assault, they are triggered by settings that are still unstable or places that offer perfect physical safety. Since my own father was a narcissist, I consider those who engage in physical abuse to be monstrous. When someone resorts to physical violence, you don't see yourself. You see someone who has lost all trace of compassion. In addition, the demonic, satanic side that emerges is completely out of their control. They are simply acting out the wrath they feel. Lastly, the seventh and last cardinal sin is exploitation. Narcissists see people as objects to be used and discarded. They view others as disposable pieces of furniture due to their grandiosity and sense of entitlement. This is also how they obtain supplies or escape from pursuers. When they pursue someone, it's not because they care about that person, or want to get to know them, or build a relationship with them, or make a positive difference in their lives. Instead, they seek money, sex, materialistic gain, or something else that has nothing to do with love, compassion, care, or pure humanity. They do not see the person, but rather the benefits they can gain by manipulating and tricking them into falling into their trap. They treat people like objects, which feeds their base animal instincts and reveals how much they care only about survival. Exploitation is a complex topic, and we will delve deeper into it in a later episode. If you are still with me, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed it, please leave a like and share it. We'll continue this conversation in the next episode. Let the healing begin.